that I had a part in having that bill to keep our president safe. I think maybe more people think like I do. I would love to be one of the donators. Just the thought that I would love to say I had a hand in helping our president stay safe. Watch your show. Love you. Thank you much. Once again, the Minnesota thing. Send help. All right. Bye-bye.
Send help. Sending help. Trump sent some help. It didn't help, so to speak. But yeah, thank you for the call. Great idea, right? Let everyone who wants to donate to this donate. It's not taxpayer funded. Trump raised $400 million for it. He could probably raise it doubly or triple if he needed more money because everyone wants to pitch in. That's a great idea. How about having a MAGA fund, just a MAGA fund to help build the ballroom for eternity, and maybe have a plaque over the corner, MAGA donors who helped build this ballroom forever, for eternity. That's it. All you have time for. War Room up next. We'll see if my voice is cracking. Sorry, I'm losing it. War Room up next. See you tomorrow, folks.
What do we understand this indictment to be about?
We are told by a very good source that this indictment relates to an investigation into the allegations that former FBI Director James Comey had made threats against the president's life when he posted something on Instagram, which was a picture of some shells arranged in a certain way, which he took to be a political message. He captioned it, interesting message here. It said 8647. He was interviewed about this by FBI agents as he drove back from a beach trip, and this investigation went on, and now we understand a grand jury has returned an indictment for him making this threat against the life of the president.
Legally sound footing? Lisa?
It's hard to say because the Supreme Court has upheld a statute that penalizes making threats against a president. People said, for example, in the 1960s that this was an infringement on First Amendment rights. The Supreme Court said, no, the statute is constitutional, but it has to be a true threat. And by that, what some people have interpreted that to mean is that a reasonable person looking at all of the evidence would themselves understand it as a threat. Political hyperbole, said the Supreme Court, is not a threat. Something made in jest is not a threat. So I think there is somewhat of an uphill climb here for the Department of Justice in establishing that Jim Comey actually meant this as a threat against the life of the president, as opposed to a statement about getting rid of him from office or having the country be rid of him as a political scourge, not as a threat against his life.
The District of North Carolina returned an indictment against James Comey on 2 counts. The first count is that on or about May 15th of last year, he knowingly and willfully making a threat to take the life of and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States. Count 2, same day, May 15th, 2025, that the defendant, James Comey, knowingly and willfully transmitting in interstate commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill the President of the United States. Both of these counts carry a maximum term of imprisonment of 10 years.
8647 arranged with shells on a beach and posted to Instagram. Do you see that, Eugene, as a threat against the president's life?
Well, Katie, I think I'm a reasonable person, according to the Supreme Court standard. And no, my understanding of what 86 means is to kick someone out. And in the context of talking about a president, in this political context, it means to kick him out of office. And that's a perfectly normal thing to say if you were a political opponent of President Trump, and certainly would be protected speech. So, Lisa is the expert on how the Supreme Court might slice this very thin slice of potato, but I think it's a stretch. I mean, it seems obvious to me that they were looking for something to charge Comey with, or something else to charge Comey with, having failed the first time around, and they think this is it.
Earlier today, a grand jury in the Eastern District of North Carolina returned a true bill indicting Mr. James Comey with committing 2 felonies. Count 1, he knowingly and willfully made a threat to kill and to inflict bodily harm upon the President of the United States in violation of 18 U.S.C. 871A. Count 2, he knowingly and willfully transmitted in interstate and foreign commerce a communication that contained a threat to kill President Trump in violation of 18 U.S.C. 875C. Mr. Comey will be given every form of due process all citizens are entitled to receive, to include a trial by a jury of his peers. In the Eastern District of North Carolina, it doesn't matter who you are. We take all threat cases seriously and prosecute anyone who violates federal law, regardless of title or status.
Investigators work methodically. They are career agents, career prosecutors who work these matters. They call the balls and strikes in the field as they see fit, pursuant to the facts of the case and the law. They took that information and made a presentment to a grand jury, a jury of peers in the district in which the alleged crime took place. And that grand jury spoke, and that grand jury returned a 2-count indictment against James Comey. James Comey allegedly threatened the life of the President of the United States. And as you all now know, shortly after posting that threat, he deleted that threat and then issued an apology. All of that information was presented to the grand jury, and Mr. Comey will have his day in court and his ability to speak to a jury of his peers. Thank you.
Justice Department, in this filing today, also issued an arrest warrant for Mr. Comey. Is it your belief that he is a continued public threat? And is there a request also for detention that you anticipate will be made in this case?
So the Department of Justice does not issue arrest warrants, grand juries do. And so the grand jury returned an indictment and arrest warrant. I expect that there will be communication with Mr. Comey's counsel, and we'll go from there. This case will proceed like hundreds of others do every year. There will be some sort of arraignment set by the judge or assigned to the magistrate judge, and when that happens, you'll know about it.
This is a Department of Justice that has made it clear through the actions and the indictments and the investigations that anybody who the president has gone up against politically or doesn't like or feels, if he feels they've been unfair to him, that they're in the line of sight. And I don't mean that violently. I mean just they're going to be investigated. And that goes for people at DOJ who worked on investigations, were assigned to them, being fired from DOJ or the FBI. It goes to political opponents. It goes to the former FBI director. What is the priority from your position, as you see it, of this Justice Department?
I am your retribution. I mean, retribution is something that apparently President Trump was absolutely serious about when he said during the campaign, I am your retribution. I guess he meant I am my retribution, because he is determined, obviously now, to get back at anybody who he thinks wronged him. And this is like a constant undercurrent now, and this is an engine that churns along regardless of whatever else is happening in the world or in the nation. So yes, we're at war with Iran. Yes, King Charles is here. Yes, this. Yes, that. The economy, but retribution just kind of keeps moving ahead.
This is the primal scream of a dying regime. Pray for our enemies, because we're going medieval on these people. You're just not got a free shot on all these networks lying about the people. The people have had a belly full of it. I know you don't like hearing that. I know you try to do everything in the world to stop that, but you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen.
And where do people like that go to share the big lie? MAGA media. I wish, in my soul, I wish that any of these people had a conscience.
Ask yourself, what is my task and what is my purpose? If that answer is to save my country, this country will be saved.
War Room. Here's your host, Stephen K. Bannon.
Tuesday, 28 April, year of our Lord 2026. If you had told me at the beginning of the day that we would be starting the afternoon war room, and it would not be in some sort of breakdown or analysis of the King's speech and President Trump's remarks on the lawn of the White House, but it would be about an indictment of James Comey on trying to bring harm to the president and trying to kill the president, threatening to kill the president. I would say, whoa, what's the over on that? Mike Davis. And the reason, Mike, thank you so much for changing your schedule to be on here. I know you want to share this posse. This is about two things. Number one, there's a different, I'd like, as you know, and I know that you're a big fan of his too, the cut of Todd Blanche's jib. We like the cut of his jib. He has totally turned this department around. And look, not a hit on Pam. He's just a former prosecutor from SDNY, and he's on top of things. But this just has a whole different feel of it, particularly what is happening down in South Florida to what's happened the last couple of days. But this is a blockbuster, is it not, sir?
Yeah, and I want to say cheers to both Pam Bondi, who started these investigations, and Todd Blanche, who is pulling the trigger and bringing these indictments. There's no one who deserves to be held accountable more than former FBI Director James Comey. He's smug. He politicized and weaponized our FBI, our intel agencies, our law enforcement to go after President Trump. He helped make up the Russian collusion hoax. He lied about it. He was responsible for taking out General Michael Flynn with the bogus investigation and indictment. James Comey can go to hell. And in the meantime, he can go through this criminal prosecution in the Eastern District of North Carolina. You're going to have a different jury and judge pool in the Eastern District of North Carolina than he did in the Eastern District of Virginia, the suburbs of D.C., where all the Democrat judges and uniparty Republican judges protect their own. He's not going to have that same treatment in the Eastern District of North Carolina. So I'm very pleased with Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, with FBI Director Kash Patel, the U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of North Carolina. These are all stars. President Trump has an all-star team at the Justice Department. They've been working on these cases for a long time, and they're really firing on all cylinders right now. James Comey thinks it's acceptable for the former FBI director to make threats against the president of the United States. And that's exactly what James Comey was doing. This is after President Trump was reelected. He's in the White House, and it's 86-47. There's no question that was a threat, an encouragement of deranged people to take matters into their own hands because they disagreed with the election and to assassinate the president of the United States. James Comey can pretend like he didn't know what that meant. He knew exactly what that meant. He's the former FBI director. And so he can say that his speech was not intended to be threatening, or it was political speech, or it wasn't a true threat. Those are good arguments that he can make to an Eastern District of North Carolina jury.
I mean, Mike, it is stunning that an FBI director, there was obviously a lot of tension during the Watergate years, but this is a totally different level, particularly coming off of the assassination attempt on Saturday night and how the left has revved up the hate speech and the speech of violence against the president of the United States. I mean, I'm stunned on this. What are your thoughts? Did you see this coming?
I'm very glad it came. I have to be careful what I say, but I would say this about James Comey. Remember this 86-47 seashell thing that James Comey did was after 2 assassination attempts against President Trump during the campaign. They almost took off President Trump's head during the campaign twice, including President Trump almost getting his head blown off in Butler, only being spared by a millimeter in a millisecond by the hand of God. And then James Comey thinks it's funny. The Democrats are the party of violence, and they have created an assassination culture. We saw this again on Saturday, where a deranged Actually, I wouldn't even say the guy's deranged. He was just an everyday Democrat.
Yep.
An everyday Democrat school teacher from California, traveled across the country, inspired by BS rhetoric of the Democrat Party, and went after President Trump because of this BS rhetoric that this guy actually believed by the Democrat Party. Democrat Party leaders are creating, festering, encouraging this assassination culture, and putting James Comey in handcuffs today is an important deterrent.
Mike, hang on for 1 second. We're going to drill down on this more. Other things, Fauci's deputy indicted. The Justice Department, FBI working as a team, enrolling, and a hat tip to Pam Bondi. A lot of this was started on her watch. Todd Blanche pulling the trigger, metaphorically, over the Justice Department. Mike Davis on the other side.
Half protection is not enough.
This Memorial Day weekend, it's more than an event. It's a celebration of the United States of America and the people who love her. Join Real America's Voice and Real America's Music for Celebrate Freedom, a one-of-a-kind live broadcast and concert experience at the iconic Marty B's in Dallas, Texas. From 4 to 9 p.m., patriots from across the country will come together for an unforgettable night, honoring faith, freedom, and the spirit that makes this nation strong. The entire event is live, kicking off with a powerful hour of worship, followed by a national broadcast hosted by Bo Davidson, featuring voices you trust like Ben Burquois, and building into a full concert experience with performances from Willie Williams and Ram artist Deepak, Natasha Owens, Celeste Kellogg, and more. This is an American love fest, and you are part of the show. Tickets are free, but you must register, and they will go fast. Scan the QR code now to lock in your spot before they're gone. Celebrate Freedom, presented by Patriot Mobile and Preborn. Let's celebrate America together. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
My name is T.J. Ash from Carbonville, Utah. Real America's Voice lets me express my conservative views without censorship or edit.
This is Giselle Chaffin. I'm from North Carolina. I'd like to let you know that RAV News is the best news. Number one news. Truth seekers seek to find the truth. It'll set you free.
When the bacon wants real facts and figures, he goes to RAV. Real America's Voice, baby. That's where you get the real scoop and not the poop.
The media was not wildly enthusiastic about this. The people in the room that cover Main Justice, there are a bunch of questions. One is that, well, you're treating him like a common criminal. You've issued an arrest warrant. And, of course, Todd Blanche, the acting Attorney General of the United States, said, hey, I don't issue anything. That was issued by a grand jury. Can you walk us through what you anticipate the process? Because this feels very different than what happened in Virginia. And what happened in Virginia was not because of the talent we had working on it. Those people moved mountains. But it's just very different in the Eastern District. I mean, you're basically in D.C., which is totally corrupt, right? Because it's all government workers, it's all globalist, most of them foreign-born. What is the process from here that Comey faces in the Eastern District of North Carolina, sir?
Well, they say that he's being treated like a regular citizen. Well, he should be, right? And actually, he should live to a higher standard. He's the former FBI director. James Comey knew exactly what he was doing when he had those seashells, and he posted them on social media saying 8647. That is a clear call to assassinate the president of the United States. James Comey knows this. This is the James Comey who sicked the FBI after President Obama's political opponents politicized and weaponized the FBI to go after Trump, his top aides, his allies, and then lied about it. So James Comey deserves zero sympathy. This is sanctimonious James Comey. So what he faces is he had a grand jury of citizens in the Eastern District of Virginia return true bills on the indictments. And so he faces federal criminal charges for making a threat against the president of the United States and transmitting that threat online. So he's gonna be arraigned. The judge is going to decide whether there's an arrest warrant for James Comey. I presume there is. And then when James Comey comes in and handcuffs, the judge in the Eastern District of North Carolina is going to decide whether he can get let out on bonds, pretrial bonds before his trial, and what the terms are of that bond. I anticipate that the judge is going to let him out on bonds, and then he's going to have to check in with pretrial services, just like any other criminal defendant. Maybe he has to go in and do urine testing to see if he's on drugs. The guy's so crazy that who knows, and then he's going to go through a trial, right? And if he could plea out to the charges, like other criminal defendants, 95% of criminal charges in the federal system are pled out, or maybe he takes this thing to trial. Maybe he can get this judge to drop the charges and saying that these are not true threats under a recent Supreme Court decision in 2023. They seem like true threats to me. They certainly seemed like they were true threats to the grand jury, the citizens of the Eastern District of Virginia who indicted him. Those are arguments that he can make to the court, to the judge, to the jury. And if he's found guilty of any of these federal felony charges, we have the federal sentencing guidelines, and they're advisory. So the judge is not required to follow.
But these are, Mike, these are very serious charges, correct?
Yeah, you're making threats against the president of the United States, and you're transmitting these threats. And we just saw on Saturday night that when you use dangerous threats like this, you inspire people to act on them. That's exactly what we saw in that manifesto from the would-be assassin on Saturday nights. This is what we've seen in prior assassination attempts against President Trump, the two prior assassination attempts against President Trump. This is what we saw in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader. We have a Democrat Party that has an assassination problem, right? And unless you very publicly hold those responsible for that assassination problem very publicly accountable, you're not going to deter this. They're going to be emboldened if they can get away with this. And so I think Saturday night really.
Hang on, I want to replay something though you said earlier, because I said it this morning. This young guy is a graduate of Caltech, right? Now, maybe he hasn't had the best career path of a guy that graduated from Caltech as an undergraduate. To get into Caltech as an undergraduate out there with the Jet Propulsion Lab, I'm not saying it's MIT, but it's almost it's MIT adjacent. And he got a mechanical engineering degree there. This kid, although he hasn't had the best career path, nothing I've seen says he's crazy. He's been his formation has been because he goes online and sees exactly things like this from people in positions or former positions of tremendous authority in this country, like James Comey, the former FBI director. Mike Davis.
Yeah, when you have the Democrat political leadership, including James Comey, smearing President Trump for 9 years, saying the worst things about him, including that he is a fascist and he's murdering people and he has Gestapo ICE agents murdering people, that has an effect, right? And we've seen that in this guy's manifesto. We saw he laid out in his manifesto exactly why he was traveling in a train across the country to Chicago and then from Chicago to Washington, D.C., and then lied in wait in the Washington Hilton Hotel for several days before trying to burst through a Secret Service checkpoint, guns ablazing, to take out the President of the United States and other very specific individuals. This is what happens when you have a Democrat Party that has an assassination culture. It's led by people like James Comey, who are calling for the assassination of the President of the United States with 8647 seashells and posting it on social media. This guy James Comey can play dumb all he wants. He was the FBI director. He knew exactly what he was doing. And I'm very pleased that Todd Blanche, the acting attorney general, and Kash Patel, the FBI director, along with the U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of North Carolina, brought these charges today. Enough is enough with the Democrat assassination culture.
Mike, the U.S. attorney for Eastern District looked like a very serious guy, and it was a grand jury. They also, Kash let us know, it's been 1 year in investigation. I mean, this is a very serious endeavor, is it not?
It is, and I think this U.S. attorney there is a career federal prosecutor in the Eastern District of North Carolina. This is a serious investigation, as you said, going on for over a year, started under Pam Bondi with Todd Blanche moving forward boldly, fearlessly after the Saturday assassination, third assassination attempt against President Trump. The message is crystal clear that the Democrat Party, including its leaders and its foot soldiers, need to stop their assassination culture. They need to win debates. They need to win elections. They need to change hearts and minds. They need to stop trying to kill our side.
Mike, explain to the audience what a superseding indictment is, and if you may see a superseding indictment in this situation, sir.
Yeah, superseding indictment is essentially an updated or amended indictment where they can add factual allegations, they can add criminal charges later on down the road. The first indictment is brought. Oftentimes these indictments are superseded, and you could bring in new defendants, co-defendants, new factual allegations, new charges. James Comey may have dodged a legal bullet in the Eastern District of Virginia because he has Democrat and uniparty judges protecting him. I don't think that's going to happen here in North Carolina. And I'm very excited that Joe DeGenova has joined Jason Redding Quinones, two of my good friends who are in Fort Pierce, Florida today, working on other matters that could involve the grand conspiracy against President Trump that we've been discussing on your show for many years, Steve.
If you don't mind, I do want to hold you for a moment after the break because I want to play a clip that just happened when you came on MSNBC regarding John Brennan. But I've got to ask you, today we started the day with FBI, I think 22 warrants going into various Somalian daycare centers in Minneapolis. It seems like the Justice Department, FBI, totally new day. They're hitting on all cylinders, sir.
Yeah, they've been investigating Somali fraud for many months. And when bold and fearless journalists have gone into Minneapolis and exposed the learning centers, the Somali fraudulent fronts that they're using to bilk hundreds of millions of dollars by these Somali pirates who should not be in our country. These people have they have IQs of inbred middle time people, and they should not be in our country. And I'm very pleased that Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota is starting to hold these Somali pirates and warlords and other fraudsters accountable. These people should not be in our country. They do not share our values. They are here to police us. We need to throw their asses in prison and then figure out a way to send them home.
Mike Davis, hang on for 1 second. We're going to bring you back. We've got a clip from Nicole Wallace with John Brennan that I would like to have Mike Davis respond to. Also, Joe Hoft is going to join us, Neil McCabe from the White House, all next in the War Room.
Losing your hair? Tired of hiding and looking older than you really are? With Bosley, you can get your real hair.
The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love rap? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love RAV because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
Donald Trump's chief of staff, John Kelly, described Donald Trump this way as, quote, the most damaged human being he'd ever known. Jim Mattis, Donald Trump's former Secretary of Defense, described him as a, quote, dictator. Former Senator Mitch McConnell described him as a, quote, despicable person. J.D. Vance described him as, quote, America's Hitler, and, quote, cultural heroin. Tucker Carlson, less than a week ago, apologized for his role in getting people to vote for him. But today, Todd Blanche doubled down on him. What does that portend for the department and for you?
Well, I think has been alluded to. Todd Blanche clearly was continuing to audition for the nomination to be Attorney General, and he was signaling his determination to follow through on Donald Trump's every wish, and he was signaling it to Donald Trump himself. And, performing in front of this group. And it's clear that, as Michael said, there's not one shred of decency left in Todd Blanche. And again, doing it and hurting people in the process is what I find just so reprehensible. But it shows the depth of the corruption that has taken root in the executive branch and in the Department of Justice. And if the American people cannot count on the Department of Justice to fairly implement our system of justice, the rule of law, everybody should be so concerned about it. I've never seen any type of departmental actions like this. And, bringing these charges against Jim Comey and the other initiatives they have underway, Pam Bondi couldn't or wouldn't deliver on those wishes of Donald Trump. But it's clear that Todd Blanche is willing to. And I do think it portends more likely initiatives to try to get these indictments and to move forward with prosecutions. Because, again, I think the intent of Donald Trump is to hurt and harm and try to destroy as much as possible any individual that he wants to seek retribution against.
Mike Davis, first off, give me your assessment of Nicole Wallace and her media response, and then I'd like you to have your observations about John Brennan, sir.
I worked with Nicole Wallace in the George W. Bush White House. I think that she has the same level of intelligence as your average Somalian fraudster in Minneapolis. It's amazing to me that she was the White House communications director. I guess President George W. Bush was very, very loyal to his bottom-feeding loyal aides from Texas and brought her from Texas. She's probably the dumbest person on television, as we just saw with that clip. With John Brennan, I'm particularly pleased to see John Brennan there. I think his days as a free man could be numbered. Remember, it was John Brennan, Obama's CIA director, who was up to his eyeballs in the Russian collusion hoax against then presidential candidate Donald Trump, where they politicized and weaponized our intel agencies and law enforcement to help Hillary Clinton's campaign and hurt Donald Trump's campaign. This is an ongoing criminal conspiracy. There's evidence that John Brennan lied about this grand conspiracy before Congress in 2023. There's not a statute of limitations problem. I know that my good friend Joe DeGenova has teamed up with my other good friend Jason Redding Quinones down in the Southern District of Florida. You can look at their social media today. They're in front of the Fort Pierce, Florida courthouse, the same courthouse where Jack Smith tried to throw President Trump in prison for having presidential records where he declassified Crossfire Hurricane. We've been on your show talking about this for almost 4 years, Steve. I know that justice is slower than we'd like, but I promise your War Room Posse justice is coming, because I'm not going to rest until it happens. I'm going to make damn sure that justice is delivered for the Crossfire Hurricane hoax, and then I will gladly go retire after that. So I would say buckle up for the next 2 years.
What does Shakespeare tell us? Vengeance is a dish best served cold. Mike Davis, the Viceroy, where do people get you, and how do they go to Article 3 to put their shoulder to the wheel?
And this revenge is going to be some rancid Irish stew. So anyway, it's article3project.org, article number 3project.org. You can follow us on social media, donate But the War Room Posse superpower, as always, is action, action, action. And buckle up, War Room Posse. It's going to be a wild ride for the next 2 years.
Mike Davis, thank you so much, and thank you for all behind-the-scenes efforts. Really appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Culmination of a lot of people working on this. And hat tip to Maine Justice, hat tip to the Eastern District of North Carolina, hat tip to the FBI, who also got Fauci's deputy. We'll get more into that. So much going on. Neil McCabe's at the White House. I want to go to Joe Hoft for a moment. Joe, thank you for joining us. Your brother Jim, your twin brother Jim, is like yourself, one of the founders of our movement, one of the giants in the category of Andrew Breitbart. Jim has been ill for a while. I guess, can you walk through? We're gonna have some surgery, and I want to make sure everybody knows about it, and can make sure that Jim Hoft is kept in our prayers over the next couple of days. Joe Hoft, what do you got?
Steve, thanks so much for having me and for your concern for Jim, my twin brother. Great guy, nice guy, really one of the most compassionate individuals you ever know, and absolutely fearless in his reporting, as he's been doing now for a few decades. Like you said, Breitbart and Jim Hoft and a few others were some of these pioneers in the new media years ago, decades ago, really. And Jim's been battling some heart issues really for about 20, not quite 20 years, but about 15 years. He had some major surgery 15 years ago that it was a result of basically he had a knee replacement that ended up getting infected and went to his heart and targeted his heart. And he had some really severe surgery at that point in time. I flew back from Hong Kong then and was talking to Jim every day, and he just all of a sudden just dropped off. He just got so sick. He was on an event at Ronald Reagan Ranch and just got sick. Came home and had this major surgery. He has, he's been pretty good over the last 10 or so years now, but just recently, the last year, he's really slowed down. Again, it's his heart. He's having some issues. And so there was supposed to be a surgery today, and that ended up getting postponed till tomorrow. So there's going to be surgery tomorrow. And I want to give you a hat tip, Steve, because I mentioned that to you earlier. You called me, said, hey, let's talk about Jim tonight. And I said, well, they've moved the surgery till tomorrow. And you said, no, that's okay. Let's talk about it tonight so we can get people praying for Jim. And I got to tell you, Steve, that really meant a lot to me, and I'm sure Jim as well. The prayers are greatly appreciated. A lot of people know Jim and are grateful for the Gateway Pundit and its reporting. And so we're all praying for him, and hopefully tomorrow will go smooth, and we'll get Jim back in action quickly. He's really been behind the scenes. It's really been slowed down this last year.
No, I got to tell you, this is so important. Jim has turned the Gateway Pundit into not just one of the must-reads every day, but tremendous power to drive the grassroots movement, to drive MAGA, and is so essential going forward. You realize you have these people like Charlie Kirk, like Andrew Breitbart, like Jim Hoft. They're really not, although, they say graveyards are full of indispensable men. There are people that come along in our movement and are really indispensable. Jim Hoft's one of them, given what you guys have accomplished over at Gateway Pundit. So surgery was delayed today. Was that because of any complication or just a timing thing?
Not that I'm aware of. I think there are some complications actually with the medical facility as far as getting the right people in place for the surgery. So that, I believe, has been taken care of now, last I heard. And we've been talking to Jim quite frequently throughout the day. And it looks like tomorrow things will move forward. So, yeah, I could use the prayers. Appreciate you really bringing this up, Steve. It means a lot.
No, we want to get everybody in the War Room Posse to pray for Jim Hoft in surgery tomorrow. And Joe, you'll keep us up to date. We want to be back up with any updates, because this guy is not just a absolutely great guy. He's such a important individual in our movement in American politics right now. And it's just amazes me. Andrew and Jim really started with nothing when they started when they started, they didn't step into a family media company. They didn't start the media companies they had. Everything you see at Breitbart and at Gateway Pundit was really created by just these individuals, really from scratch. And it just blows me away of how important these are and how important it is to our country, particularly now when we're at an inflection point of which way this republic goes. So if you keep us up to speed, Joe, where can people get you on social media? Where do they go for Gateway Pundit?
Yeah, Gateway Pundit's thegatewaypundit.com, and you'll find that site across social media. For myself, joehoff.com, where I'll write original pieces there and share them with the Gateway Pundit now as well. So, yeah, thanks again for all your support, Steve. We'll keep you posted. He's got a lot of people praying for him, so we're really hopeful everything's going to go well.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Hearing you back from Jim Hoft. Make sure Jim Hoft, if not already in your prayers, goes for a surgery tomorrow related to his heart. And, you can't take chances on this thing. That's why Jim and, Joe and Jim have said he's a little bit slowed down the last couple of months, but he's going to get taken care of. I'm going to go to the White House in a moment. Neil McCabe, who was at the Justice Department for much of 2025, now over here at RAV, he's at the White House today. I thought we'd be leading all day with the King and the President's speech. What I'm going to do in the 6 o'clock hour, I'm going to break down the King's speech and President Trump. President Trump gave pretty damn impressive remarks on the White House lawn. The Democrats were sitting there constantly, and remember, they got no Kings rallies, they got no Kings, all over the country. They're putting this hate on Trump every second of the day. No Kings. America has no Kings. Man, oh man, were those Democrats lapping it up today. They couldn't get enough of a king. It shows you what a clown show they are. They had just a total embarrassing clown show. You actually been telling us no kings. America got no kings. A king comes and you're slobbering all over it. And the king, I thought some of the remarks were just absolutely incredible. Took a couple of shots. We'll break it all down for you. Short commercial break. UAE, man, I'm pretty glad we called this shot. Pulling out of OPEC. A lot of people came to me after the show this morning, didn't know what OPEC stood for. The OPEC is the cartel started by the Arabs back in 1973, the first Arab oil shock, when the Arabs realized they had some, leverage against the West. UAE pulled out of that. Find out why. They're getting a facility to keep them U.S. dollar supreme. The end of the dollar empire. Birchgold.com, promo code Bannon. Get it today. 8 free installments. Read it, study it, understand it. Talk to Philip Patrick and his team.
All the plants your yard needs without the hassle. That's what fastgrowingtrees.com.
The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the real voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Hi, I'm Bridgie. And why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hey guys, my name is Jeff. I'm from Massachusetts. I love Rav because of the free speech and the political wranglings that go on in the chat every day.
Graduate minute, that's pretty cold. Engine room getting pretty cold. Neil, I want to ask you about the king, about President Trump. President Trump kind of gave a blood and soil, I thought, speech, remarks, the White House earlier than the king gave his remarks. I think almost 30 minutes long, a speech. And of course, the Democrats have been going around the country doing no kings, we're slobbering all over it. But I got to start with the Todd Blanche. Now, my question, I think Mike said, to your knowledge, is the prosecutor we just saw in the Eastern District, is that a career or is that an appointment? Because the North Carolina, Tillis has not exactly been trying to assist the president and staff out the Justice Department, is he?
No, he's been putting holds on things, and obviously he famously blocked Ed Martin's confirmation in committee. Ted Budd, the other Republican senator in North Carolina, strongly endorsed his appointment, but Ellis Boyle has not yet been confirmed by the Senate, so he's just on. His interim appointment expired in December, and so the only explanation is that he's been appointed by the judges, and the judges can do that when there's a vacancy.
Todd, I want to go back to Tillis, because this is one of the problems we have. We're understaffed, as you know, at the U.S. Attorney level. We're also understaffed in Maine Justice. Tillis is not an ally of correcting those staffing issues, right? He was the guy that really put up the big stink about Eagle Ed Martin, the great warrior we had as the U.S. Attorney in D.C., correct?
Yeah, he told Ed Martin that he wasn't going to block him in committee, but he wasn't going to vote for him on the floor. But then, with 30 minutes before the Judiciary Committee published the agenda for 2 days hence, when they would vote for Ed Martin to recommend it to the Senate floor, he dropped the penny, surprised everyone, Grassley's staff, everyone was surprised, and he really had a very sort of volatile meeting with Ed Martin, where he basically blamed Ed, who represented some J6 defenders, for being part of this revolt. And he also said that Ashley Babbitt deserved what she had coming to her. It was a very sort of off-center meeting where Tillis really got red-faced and was really kind of upset and angry. And he's been trouble ever since, Steve.
Very bad guy. Neil, can you hang on? I got more questions about the Comey indictment. I also want to get your take on both the president and also the king today. Mike Lindell, you join us. Mike, didn't you find it odd that people that have gone around the country in these protests and talking violence against the president of the United States for no kings, that we don't have any kings, were slobbering all over Charles III today as he gave his remarks in the joint session before the joint session of Congress, sir?
Yeah, and it is something else. And you talk about with these No Kings protests, people don't even realize what a king is and what that is. And I'll tell you, Minneapolis has the strictest protest laws in the nation, but yet we're the most abused. But I do have some good news for everybody. Today, according to ABC News, 22, they served 22 search warrants in Minneapolis today for the fraud investigation. So they can protest all they want, and we're getting through that. We're going to get to the bottom of all the fraud here in Minnesota. I'm on my way to another governor event tonight. We had a huge one last night in Two Harbors, Minnesota, and wait for it, Steve, Fox News, it was local Fox, they actually reported, and it was a great report about me running for governor. So they're actually coming around maybe in Minnesota and our local media here. And so if you go to MikeLindellGov.com, it would really help us.
They're looking for you to advertise. One thing before we get to talking about what the audience is interested in, the deal, about you running for governor. It's great that the feds went in today, the FBI went in today, Todd Blanche and Justice went in today. But as governor, you're not waiting for that. You think that's a state. You think, hey, I'm going to be governor. I'm going to go in and waltz, let them run wild. I'm going to go in and clean this mess up. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Not just to clean up the fraud and start holding people accountable, but these programs in general in Minnesota, the welfare programs and the programs we have, so many of them are just worthless. They're just frivolous. You don't need them, and there's no return on your investment, even if there wasn't fraud. It's not. A lot of them aren't helping people. It's disgusting, and there's many of them. We have at least I'd say 20 different programs that all need to go or be looked at and redone to the form of, hey, is there limits on them? Remember, we have 80% of the Somalians that are here that are on these one or another of these programs since they've been here. Some have been here 20 some years. So we're just supporting a population that doesn't want to assimilate with us, and that's where banning Sharia law comes in. All they want to do is clash with us on that, and it's. But I'm going to get all new commissioners on the first day as governor and start fresh. Here's your foundation, and hold these people accountable. Get rid of our politician, crooked Keith Ellison, Tim Walz, Fry of Minneapolis, Amy Klobuchar. It was under her watch, Steve. That's who I'm running against. This was under her watch too. All Amy did, she ignored the election fraud and just brought in billions of dollars from the feds, only to be stole here in Minnesota. So it's very disgusting, but I'm looking forward to cleaning it all up and winning this.
Mike, talk to me about a deal.
And you guys, this is it. You guys got to get it today. We're doing the free shipping on the last semi truck as we move factories, 80% off the My Slippers, and I think there's over 50 other products still left on there on those semis. $29.98. We got right here. Get your size. Get as many as you want. Once they're gone, they're gone. We have bath mats. I just checked it out. Blankets, kitchen towel sets as low as $9.98. All these products you can find at mypillow.com/war room. You guys go there. That's the only place you're going to find them. And you're going to get all these products up to 80% off, free shipping on your entire order. And don't forget right now, while it's still going on today, the free shipping. Get your mattress toppers like you see here. Get those, cover your mattresses, or get a brand new MyPillow mattress and get free shipping on that right to your front door. Promo code WARROOM, 800-875-1062, everybody. Call my operator standing by, promo code WARROOM.
Thank you, brother. We'll see you tomorrow. Stick around. The second hour War Room is about to begin.
WeFilter is America's #1 gutter protection system because it's built right.
The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. and weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. Of uncertainty.
Everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in. Be counted. Be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness.
Good evening, America, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Just the News, No Noise. I'm your host, John Solomon, reporting to you, as always, from the nation's capital. I could have called it Accountability Tuesday. Yep, I know you've been asking for a long time. When might we get some accountability here in America for all the weaponization? I told you earlier this month, I thought by the end of April there would be 2 or 3 indictments. We've got them now. Southern Poverty Law Center last weekend sending donations to extremists to try to make it look like there was a worse racism threat in America. Today, 2 more big ones. The former FBI director, James Comey, indicted for making threats against the president for posting that picture of the seashells with the 8647, a terminology meant to encourage the assassination of the president, according to the prosecutors, to do him harm. That indictment came down just a short while ago. Before that, earlier in the day, one of the top lieutenants of Dr. Anthony Fauci, a guy named Dr. David Morans, indicted in a cover-up, an accusation that he engaged in a conspiracy to keep information about the COVID-19 pandemic, specifically its possible origins from a lab leak in Wuhan Institute of Virology in Wuhan, China, where the U.S. government was funding the project where the lab leak occurred. Basically keep that out of his emails. What did he do? He was accused of moving stuff to Gmail, his private email account, so that it could not be discovered by the American people or Congress. Today, that resulted in 2 felony charges in his indictment. So 3 big indictments in the last 10 days, some of the biggest accountability we've had after literally years and years of talking about it, but not seeing it done. The new team, the new acting Attorney General of the United States, Todd Blanche, the FBI Director, Kash Patel, who wrote that conspiracy memo that is now becoming the roadmap for so much. They're starting to gain momentum. I would not be surprised if we see 2 or 3 more indictments in the coming couple of weeks. So we're keeping a close eye on that. I know John Brennan is watching the grand jury in Florida very closely, the former CIA boss potentially being indicted there. With that, there's other big things going on today. In fact, we have a real king in town this time, King Charles III, not a no king protest, a fake protest. Right. Amanda, you wrote a beautiful story this morning about what was at stake in this meeting. Give us a little bit of what's happened so far.
Yeah, well, yesterday, the King and Queen Camilla arrived, and John, there are just a few anecdotes about their visit that I think are amazing. First, this is the first one in about 20 years. Of course, President Trump had a very warm relationship with King Charles's mother, Elizabeth II. They had a really, really special and cordial relationship, and Queen Camilla honored that relationship yesterday when they arrived because she was wearing a brooch, a Cartier brooch that was a combination
dedication of the Union Jack and the Stars and Stripes.
How about that?
And it was a gift to Queen Elizabeth from, I think his name was Robert Wagner, the mayor of New York City at the time.
Yeah.
So a lot of symbolism packed in there. But then, of course, the king moved on to Capitol Hill, and all of this is within the scope and within the context of our 250th birthday. And he made many references to that, including John at the White House. I thought this was an incredible flex by President Trump. They had period-appropriate military men dressed in military fatigues from, and I thought that was
Revolutionary War time,
from the
right?
Revolutionary War, and I thought that was quite the flex for the United States as the Queen of England comes, or the King of England comes. But he spoke to Capitol Hill, went up, and the whole No Kings crowd, interestingly, they were standing on their feet applauding for the king. So I found that very interesting.
Apparently they do like kings after all, huh?
Apparently they do, but I want to show you guys a clip from the visit because it speaks about that bond between our two countries. Check it out.
Our two countries have always found ways to come together. And by Jove, Mr. Speaker, when we have found that way to agree, what great change is brought about, not just for the benefit of our peoples, but of all peoples. This, I believe, is the special ingredient in our relationship. As President Trump himself observed during his state visit to Britain last autumn, the bond of kinship and identity between America and the United Kingdom is priceless and eternal. It is irreplaceable and unbreakable.
And John, you know, the favor of the monarchy with the British people has waned in recent years. A lot of people, including South Carolina Congressman William Timmons, who spoke to you yesterday, spoke about, you know, the symbolic nature of this position and who he is king of, because he talked about all of these, you know, thousands and thousands of immigrants who have flooded into the UK. And Timmons said, you know, he's not the king of those people. He's not the king of Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London. So what is he there for? But obviously he is there to foster this beautiful relationship between the president of the United States and the monarchy. And I think it went swimmingly well.
Yeah, listen, it was a very warm speech, a little bit of globalism, which Charles is a globalist. But I thought the most important thing he said is maybe something that Keir Starmer, the prime minister, should have followed. He said, we work together for the betterment of other people, but Great Britain wasn't there when we were trying to help the Iranian people in the world that's been terrorized by Iran. They wouldn't even let us use their military base. I think a lot of people, I talked to several members of Congress who heard that and said, you know, maybe you should tell that to your prime minister, not us.
Yeah, well, that was kind of the crux of my story, the royal warmth with the chilly politics because of Keir Starmer.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Well, somebody who's in the middle of some chilly politics, because it's always cool in Wisconsin this time of year. He's running for the governor of Wisconsin, the leading Republican candidate by a mile now. He's also been one of the most important voices in Congress in demanding accountability. We got some today. Congressman Tom Tiffany joins us now, sir. Great to have you.
Good to join you, Amanda and John.
All right, so you've been around for a while. You helped dug up some of the extraordinary things that were wrong in the era of weaponization, the Biden-Obama era of weaponization. When you see a FBI director charged with making a threat against the president just a few short days after we had another man try to, a third time, assassinate President Trump, what runs through your mind?
So, it's terrible that you have people that are, you know, they seem to be decent people outwardly, and they've been allowed themselves to follow this notion that, you know, you name the leader, whether it was Bush, McCain, or now President Trump, that they're Hitler, and they've basically been brainwashed. And it's really sad to see. But I will say to you, as a member of the Judiciary Committee, I'm so glad that the work that we've done in exposing some of these people, like you're referring to, James Comey, that they may now get justice.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of hate, obviously everyone knows about what Jimmy Kimmel said last week. That's mainstream right now. But Minocqua Brewing Company, you highlighted this. They are offering a free beer day if the president gets killed. How on earth are we in a place in America where that's considered acceptable? How are they not shut down?
It's crazy. It's my hometown, and it's clear this fella, he wants to besmirch the name. I mean, it's a resort town. When people hear that in Wisconsin, they just go, gosh, I remember going to Minocqua where the lakes are and stuff like that and having such a great time. It's clear what he's trying to do. And that's what progressives do. They want to pull everybody down. And so that's what he is attempting to do. But the biggest concern I have is this is one of the major voices of the progressive movement in Wisconsin. Candidates come to him and are interviewed. The leading candidate for governor on the Democrat side donated to him when he was running for a assembly seat in the state legislature. So this guy is one of the leaders, one of the thought leaders of the Democrat Party in Wisconsin. Are they going to renounce him is one of the chief questions that I have.
Yeah, that's a very important connection that you've made, and it's also a sign that this group of people, they share these common values of intolerance. I wrote a whole column this morning about this, that the left created basically a hate incorporated, an intolerance machine, and whether it's the SPLC doing what it did, or the No Kings rallies, or other extreme groups like that, or these sort of moments where a public figure is basically calling for the assassination of a president. When does the Democrat Party wake up to the consequences of this? Is there a moment that voters say, we're done with this, and it comes at the expense of Democratic candidates?
We sure hope that it is this election cycle. One of the things that we're seeing in our polling is that while, especially with the Iran conflict going on, gas prices having gone up, that there's a bit of a slump that's going on here. But we're seeing that Democrats are not benefiting from it. They're not seeing a big bump, like, for example, in 2018, because people know that they can't trust the Democrats at this point. I mean, just look at the state of Wisconsin with some of the vetoes that our current governor has done. I mean, he vetoed no taxes on tips and overtime in terms of your state taxes. He vetoed boys being able to play girls' sports. He believes that that should happen. And he vetoed a bill in regards to grooming children. So those type of things are still going on, where the left has gone as far left as they can. And the public is seeing that. We have to make sure that we're delivering a message of hope and opportunity across the United States here, including in states like Wisconsin. And I think we're going to be just fine in this election if we do that. We have to provide hope and opportunity for people in order for them to be able to vote for us.
Yeah. It's very important.
Sir, there has been this amazing metamorphosis by Democrats on immigration policy. I watched a clip of a Democrat candidate in Pennsylvania earlier today who, when asked who should handle immigration policy, she basically she fished around for an answer and then just decided not the federal government. It should be left up to the states, which really doesn't even make sense when you consider the patchwork of ideologies we have. But also in Nicaraguan, there in Wisconsin, issues with illegal immigrants. They're violent, criminal, illegal aliens. And yet when you ask your typical Democrat, when it comes to violent, illegal immigrants, it's getting really, really hard to even get them to condemn that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, if I become governor of the state of Wisconsin, number one, there will not be sanctuary cities in our great state. I mean, we've seen too many people come to harm. We had a young couple, 19 and 20 years old, that were killed by a repeat offense drunk driver who was an illegal alien on Interstate 94 near Madison, Wisconsin. And that's in part because Dane County is a sanctuary city. We're going to end sanctuary cities in Wisconsin. And we need to remind people the reason that crime has gone, part of the reason that crime has gone down 20% in the last year is because we have secured the border. There was far more crime than people were letting on that was being done by these illegal aliens, and we've seen it, and I can give you numerous examples in the state of Wisconsin. And we have to make sure that we repeat to the American people, this is why you voted for Donald Trump in 2024, to have secure borders that are going to make you safer. And you are safer today than you were a year and a half ago.
Yeah, so important. Sir, before we let you go, you mentioned your role in the Judiciary Committee, which has played such an important role in weaponization. Real quickly, there's a new effort to expand the investigation into how much the Biden administration spied on members of Congress, Republican members of Congress, spying on their opposition. It seems like this was systemic and large.
No doubt about it. I think there's much more to come. In fact, I think you're going to hear some very interesting stories come out real soon in regards to that. And I think besides James Comey, if I'm Jack Smith, I'd be really concerned about this point in terms of the weaponization that they did to the FBI and the Department of Justice. I think there's going to be more news on this front. And it's really important that we get there, because I've heard from constituents so many times, as you were alluding at the top here, that when are we going to have justice? When are the American people going to get justice for those that use law enforcement to go after innocent people here in the United States of America? I think more people are going to see the long arm of justice here coming real soon.
It's huge.
Sir, before we let you go, as head of the state of Wisconsin, should you win, I know that you have been very vocal about getting rid of DEI and wokeness throughout government, throughout all of society there in Wisconsin. You're a girl dad. How does that affect Wisconsinites?
It affects them every day. I'm hearing from parents that they can't get their kids into the University of Wisconsin system. And, those slots are sometimes going to Chinese nationals and others. And people want Wisconsin to be Wisconsin. We're going to put the Wisconsin back in the UW here if I become governor. And DEI is going to DIE when I become the governor of the state of Wisconsin.
I like those. Those are two good plays on words. One last question before we let you go. You referenced a little bit ago that this spying went all the way up to Jack Smith. Do you think that the committee has developed enough evidence that maybe even a prosecutor should be examined for possible criminal charges?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the case or not, but if it, if the evidence proves out that that should happen, then we should follow through. There's no doubt about it. And we should just continue our work in the Judiciary Committee, because I think we really help the Department of Justice when we identify those that have, for example, like with Comey, who lied to the Judiciary Committee. When we can prove those things, that really helps the Department of Justice to be able to bring those miscreants to justice.
Yeah, you have played such an important role in showing that oversight matters, that when you take the time to get the evidence, you have to fight for it sometimes, but when you get the story out there, there's a roadmap that prosecutors can follow, and you and Chairman Jim Jordan and many others in that committee have done yeoman's work to do that, the same sort of work I know you'll do when you're governor of Wisconsin. Congressman, it's a great honor to have you on the show today. Thank you for joining us.
Well, it's good to join you guys.
Yeah, I always have a great conversation when you join us. All right, folks, after the break, we had a great conversation a little while ago with another Wisconsinite, Senator Ron Johnson. He reacted to the indictment today of David Morins, and he's going to drop a bombshell. I'm serious. He's going to drop a bombshell about what data they're going to reveal tomorrow about problems with the COVID vaccine. Another cover-up. We're going to cover all of that right after these messages.
Half protection is not enough.
The world doesn't slow down because you're tired. And weakness gets exposed. That's why the best take Go Pills. Born for military performance, built for high-pressure days when your brain has to move faster than the chaos. This is neurotransmitter support, helping your mind fire clean signals so you can process data fast, decide fast, and stay locked in when it matters. Packed with clinically supported ingredients designed to boost cognitive performance so you stay sharp under pressure. The most badass military in the world uses this kind of energy every day. Now you can too. From training to eliminate America's enemies to smoke-checking terrorists, Go Pills keep the mission fueled. Real-world tested by high-level tactical communities. Now available to you. Greenlight the beast inside. Pop a Go Pill. Scan the QR code or go to buygopills.com and receive 15% off your entire order. Now is the moment to put your brand in front of an engaged, loyal audience through Real America's Voice. When you advertise on Real America's Voice, you're not just running an ad, you're partnering with trusted voices like Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and other influential hosts. Backed by millions of monthly listeners.
What's happening? Because of the Real Voice, man. I watch it all the time.
Real America's Voice rocks.
Real America's Voice gives sponsors the chance to put their product front and center, displayed on screen and highlighted by our anchors during exclusive segments and live events.
Head to freetrumpknife.com.
This means your brand becomes part of the conversation as it happens.
Secure your spot before it's too late.
Join us today and make your brand part of the news conversation that America's viewers trust. Real America's Voice, where your message is seen, heard, and remembered.
Welcome back, everybody. Finally, some accountability it looks like we are seeing in Washington. I know you never thought that would happen, but David Morans, a colleague of Dr. Anthony Fauci, he has been arrested and charged with conspiracy and destruction of federal records. Reports indicate that Morans and two other individuals conspired to commit fraud and several offenses against the United States. So why didn't the Biden administration take any action regarding this? Well, joining us now to discuss this and more, he represents the great state of Wisconsin in the U.S. Senate, Senator Ron Johnson. Sir, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me on.
I feel it prudent to remind our audience, because Democrats will no doubt say that this is a witch hunt. This is the same David Morans, right, who said that he was using a Gmail instead of his NIH account because it gets FOIA'd so often, and that he had talked to their FOIA lady and figured out how to get around the FOIAs and make sure that they were deleted before they were searched. That's the same David Morans, right? So destruction of documents seems like it's a very appropriate charge.
And conspiracy. But I have to give my PSI staff a big shout out here. Understand, these are not records we got from HHS and the agencies, from the Biden administration. We got these through our own investigation, and we got these through one of the universities HHS was working with. And so they provided us about 115,000 pages of documents, and my staff pulled this needle out of the haystack. And the exact quote from David Morans' emails is, he said, "I learned from our FOIA lady here how to make emails disappear." And he went on to say he wanted, quote, "correspondence on sensitive issues to be sent to me at my Gmail address." And so, again, it's very clear that he was trying to avoid FOIA. He was doing government business, not on his official account, but on Gmail account. And so, the fact that my staff found that needle in the haystack, that email, we publicized that a couple of years ago. So the wheels of justice turn slowly, but hopefully they will turn certainly, and this individual at least will be held accountable. But tomorrow we're going to be holding a hearing, and we will reveal other evidence of people within the FDA doing similar things, making similar types of statements about these are sensitive information. It's probably not we shouldn't be conveying this via email.
Amazing. What a culture. It's not the American people's business. It's these bureaucrats' business. They treat it like it's their own empire. When you take the totality of the indictment, sir, it appears that what the government is saying is that Dr. Morans engaged in a cover-up, that he was trying to keep off of the public record any evidence that would suggest that COVID-19 wasn't natural, but actually from a lab leak in Wuhan and maybe related to the EcoHealth Alliance contracts. Is that ultimately what you think this case will prove, that they were trying to hide from all of us the fact that maybe their own research led to this terrible pandemic?
Now, again, everybody has to understand, David Morans was an advisor to Anthony Fauci. And it's pretty obvious to me that Anthony Fauci, Francis Collins, they all were covering up what was obvious to most of us pretty early on. That the coronavirus did not look like something that evolved from nature, but that was man-made. We've got the paper trail of the gain-of-function funding that they provided to Ralph Barrick,
at Chapel Hills, and then to Peter Daszak at EcoHealth Alliance, transferred to the Wuhan lab. I mean, this was just so obvious. And then when you take a look at the transcripts of the phone call and the tail end of January, early February of 2020, when initially those advisors who very well understood this process thought it was all lab-made, man-made, and then within a couple of days, talking to Anthony Fauci and Francis Collins, they came up with the proximate origin paper that said, oh, there's no way this was man-made. This sprang from nature. Anybody who thinks it's man-made has got to be a conspiracy theorist. Again, to just mislead the public, to lie bold-faced when they knew exactly how this coronavirus was created.
Well, Senator, in the normal progression of a case, Morin's lawyers would start looking for supporting witnesses. But even though Morin's was Anthony Fauci's advisor, they're not going to be able to look to Anthony Fauci as a supporting witness, because if I remember correctly, during his congressional testimony, he said that they did not work closely together and he knew nothing about his email tactics, right?
Well, of course, Anthony Fauci also has presidential pardon, so he's home free from standpoint of legality. What I'd like to do is completely expose, the kind of person, the very bad kind of person that Anthony Fauci was. I mean, that needs to be exposed. His record in history has to go down as a very dark and black one.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Sir, one of the things that you spent a lot of time on the last few years is showing the unhealthy closeness between the regulators and the people they fund, the scientists in the field. You see a piece of that in this Morin's indictment, where later on there's a gratuity taken, some wine, some expensive wine apparently changes hands, and then he wants to repay the favor saying, hey, let me do something in a medical journey to make you look good. That revolving door, that really lack of separation relationship, it seems to carry out through FDA, CDC, NIH. Is this a moment, a case where maybe it creates such a uncomfortable limelight that we create some distance between the two?
Well, I hope so. Again, that's one example. There are far more egregious examples right in public view. I mean, FDA commissioners going to become board members of Pfizer. Peter Marks, I think, is Eli Lilly. I mean, there's just a revolving door. You had the famous report by James O'Keefe, talking about the same revolving door. So this has been going on for decades. It's done, in plain sight, and just nobody seems to care. The American people have to start caring, and I think they hopefully will after we reveal what we're going to reveal tomorrow in our report and our hearing.
That's exciting.
I cannot wait to hear that. I mean, you've already revealed so much, and with reference to what you were saying about Dr. Anthony Fauci, he's untouchable because of the pardon, but public opinion is still very much needing information about him. I think what would be most helpful to that is if Morin's sings. Does he seem to have the type of disposition that, at least in order to save his own hide, would be willing to reveal a whole lot?
That's oftentimes how we find the real ringleaders here, is you get somebody a little bit lower in the food chain, he's a little bit lower, you charge him with the crimes that he's committed, and then to give him a little more lenient treatment, say, well, tell us what you know. I mean, who else was deleting emails? Again, in our investigations, we will start interviewing current employees of HHS, FDA, CDC, as well as past employees, and they're going to have to tell the truth. And if they're not willing to testify, then they'll be pleading the fifth, which would be quite incriminating as well. But so we've only begun scratching the surface here. We've begun uncovering things. We've gotten documents. The hearing tomorrow is going to be primarily about the fact that by March of 2021, Peter Marks was made aware of the fact that their analytical algorithm of the VAERS system was going to mask adverse events. He was told this. I mean, the people who wrote the algorithm that analyzed VAERS said this is going to mask. We've got an updated version that will unmask that so you can see safety signals. They didn't want to see it. A month later, by March 26th, they used that program. The inventors of this algorithm used a program that showed there were 49 cases of extreme masking, 25 safety signals, including sudden cardiac death, pulmonary infarction, Bell's palsy, 25 of these types. And the FDA ignored it, and they continue to say, well, we're not seeing any safety signals. Well, you're not seeing what you're not looking for. But they were fully aware of the fact that their analytic system was going to mask the serious side effects so they wouldn't see them. This should be a major scandal. We'll see if the mainstream media picks up on it. Probably won't. It'll require outlets like yours to continue to tell the American people the truth.
We're going to be relentlessly committed to that truth, because there are lives that were already affected and many more lives that could be affected if we don't get it right. The indictment today shows a cover-up about the origins of COVID-19, possibly coming from our own research and our own funding. And then what you're going to, I think, tomorrow is put the second very